Hello! Today I want to talk to you about connection. I've been reading this wonderful book called Lost Connection, and it made me think about what a privileged position as singers we are in, because one marvelous, glorious thing that music does for us and humanity is it engenders, it creates that sense of connection we have to each other, to the world, and that sense of belonging. I've been, as you can see, I've got piles of music over there. I've been looking through my music, partly because I'm going on a singing course at the beginning of September, which I'm really looking forward to. We're in the middle of September. And I realised as I went through it, or it reminded me, that all of those pieces, whether it's Nothing's Gonna Harm You by Sondheim or In Harmony by Mozart, they're all stories, they're all bits about humanity, bits about people. I remember studying Shakespeare from a philosophical perspective when I was at university, and this idea that Shakespeare got humanity, and so did Mozart, that whole idea of the gritty, complicated, philosophical muddle of humanity that we all battle with sometimes, enjoy, live in day to day, and how imperfect it all is. Brené Brown talks about the idea that we all try to fit in. We all want to be accepted. But she contrasts that to belonging, because fitting in is changing yourself to be something that you feel is more acceptable. Belonging is being accepted for who you are. And actually, although we try and fit in, belonging is what we really crave. But you can't be accepted for who you are unless you're being who you are. And that holds all sorts of vulnerabilities for us until we flip it and remember that everyone wants to belong. So as some of you know, I'm a coach, and a coach supervisor and a coach mentor. So I help with the training of coaches and supervision of coaches. And in that arena, I talk about the need for coaches to be vulnerable. Because one of the whole principles of coaching is that we're not the expert in the room. We are there to create a space to help the person look at what's going on and make choices, look at the patterns they are living in and decide whether they want to change them, whether there are better patterns. Sometimes to make suggestions, but to do so as a wise friend, as opposed to the expert versus the client. It's not a doctor-patient scenario or consultant. I'm trying to think of the other side of consultant. It's gone from me for the moment. But, we're not there as the experts. We're there to create a space to help people solve their own issues in life. And one of the ways we can do that is by demonstrating vulnerability ourselves, because if we can be vulnerable in the space, then we're giving the other person, our client, permission to also be vulnerable and to really express where they're at. I was thinking that in the same way, your audience is human. They want to belong just as much as everybody else. They don't come into the space as expert. They come into the space as human. We have this idea of hierarchy, and hierarchy can throw so many things out. So, in coaching, we try and get rid of the hierarchy, because the person who's sitting in the space with us, they are the expert on themselves. We're just holding up a mirror. If we start to put ourselves on a pedestal or let them put us on a pedestal, then the whole energy in the space changes and they lose faith. We're not empowering them, we're disempowering them. In the same way, I heard someone talking on Instagram about audition panels and how people's perception of audition panel members are like they're, oh God, here we go again. Whereas actually they're like, oh wow, that's amazing. And they're really in the space as audience. We have a tendency to put the audition panel up here because of the power they have to grant or deny us what we're auditioning for. But actually they're just humans. And there are some performers who might be the other way, who put themselves above the audience. And equally, they're not people we like to necessarily listen to. There's something wrong about that hierarchy. But if we enter the space at the same level as the audience, then that's where the connection can happen. And connection is what helps all of us belong. It's what we all crave. Connection and belonging was what we needed to feel safe when we were the hunter-gatherers and we formed tribes to keep us safe, to keep watch while we slept so that we could sleep. And that was helped us to evolve, but that meant belonging and having to belong. And we still have that need to belong. One of the things that's come up during lockdown has been this disconnection that people have suffered, and so many mental health issues coming from the loneliness of disconnection that many people have suffered. And as I said at the beginning, we have this power as singers to create that connection. But to do so, we have to be on the same level as our audience. They can't be above us, judging us, nor can they be below us with us judging them if we're to have that connection. And that requires us not to be perfect, but to be ourselves. Because by being ourselves, we permit the audience to connect with us and we permit them to belong in the space as well. So I always say connection is blocked by perfection, because by trying to be perfect, if you achieve perfection, then you just exclude the person who's sitting imperfectly watching you and feeling imperfect. And anyway, what is perfection? How do you achieve perfection? And that striving to achieve perfection makes you always feel less than good enough, which means you're down here and the audience is up here judging you in your head. So how do you let go of that? And one of the thoughts, and the thought I would like to leave you with today, is this idea of how do you stop looking inward to try and fit in and start looking outward and look at your audience and ask yourself the question, how can you help your audience feel like they belong in the space? What can you do to help connect with your audience, to reach out to them, to involve them in the music making? And how do you share the beautiful stories, whether it's in Womany with the wonderful humour and sarcasm that's in there, or Nothing's Going to Harm You. And I didn't know the story behind that until I looked it up today. I'd never seen Sweeney Todd. And just the sadness and poignancy of that song. It made me cry when I read about it. And all of those different stories about humans. You don't have to be perfect to represent a human. In fact, if you are, you're not properly representing a human, because we're perfect as we are in all our imperfection. There's that wonderful song, Perfect in Your Imperfection. I can't remember the line, but I just love it because it represents everything that I believe is important for us as singers. And that is, how do we represent the imperfection of humanity? By trying to be perfect. And what I would encourage you to do is connect with your audience and help your audience feel like they belong in that space and they have a right to connect with you as an artist. And how do you give yourself permission to connect with the audience? Thank you for listening. I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.